So in part 1, we took a look at some allegations made by Twitch streamer KatyBugs, accusing 10 million sub Minecraft YouTuber GeorgeNotFound of being inappropriate with her during a small late night gathering that happened at Dream's hotel room during VidCon. In part 2, we looked at GeorgeNotFound's response to the allegations, and now we have a brand new response from KatyBugs that she posts on Twitter with the caption, "For now, goodbye." The post starts out with her saying, "For now, this is what I have to say. He admitted to touching me, that I was drunk, that I verbally couldn't consent. In my mind, the conversation is over. He said silence does not equal consent, yet 1. Never got verbal confirmation from me. 2. Chose to move to a sexual act on the couch where everyone was hanging out without asking. I don't know how those two facts coexist. How can I consent when there was no question? How can I consent when drunk? I prepared proof on the idea he wouldn't admit to it, that he would deny touching me or being there, but he admitted it, that I was drunk, and he touched me in front of everyone, that I never said yes, nor did he ask, and I'm still asked for a response, proof, explanations. Frankly, I think it's fucking insane. If you still need more after hearing him admit those two simple facts, then nothing I can say is going to change your mind, but here it is anyway. Addressing the stream. As for the iMessages he showed outside of Insta DMs, all proof was him showing a group chat he wasn't even in, showing messages from my friends, which isn't me. The only message showing a response from me was when he asked about the drinking game we played. That was after we played it the first night, the night where nothing happened. I liked the game and wanted to play it with other friends at the convention, so I asked for the name. Don't know how it's relevant to anything. Why I went back? Because my friends wanted to, and I went with them everywhere they went that trip. I would also like to clear up this all happened when I went back. Nothing happened the first night. Something I also did not admit at first because it's embarrassing and I thought irrelevant, but the second night, another reason I was willing to go back was I heard of a different creator who was in the room I wanted to meet, but when I found out they had left an hour earlier, I was already in the Uber. I had forgotten this until looking back at the text where I said this to a friend the day after. Katie then shows the text that she was referencing where she says, "But blank brought me and Ghosty back to Dream's room to see him. He said blank was there too with some other people. So I was excited because I always wanted to get to know blank. Blank left right before we showed up. So it's just Dream and George and then we show up anyway." And I'm like, fuck, okay. Drinking games, etc. Ghosty leaves to throw up. Then it's like 4 of us and we are all drunk. And it was honestly really weird because I was just drunk and too tired to comprehend what was happening. But we were up until 6:30 a.m. They were all fine like I said in my stream. I did have my age in my bio like it is to this day. The messages were nothing insane, just banter. Like I said, I admitted to messaging him after. I never hid the fact. I was still considering myself lucky for what happened to me. Even if I was uncomfortable and didn't ask for it, I was hating myself around now, thinking I was ungrateful. But as you can see, nothing insane or proof-worthy being said, just banter. She then shows the Instagram DMs which start out with George saying, "Hope you got lost." Then she responds, "I hope your elevator plummeted as soon as you stepped in it." George responds, "I'm so sorry for the bad news, but it didn't, and I made it back so easily and slept so well." She responds, "Try harder to die next time." George replies, "You better start being nice to me." And then she says, "If you come to Dream's hotel again tonight, I'm shooting your leg, so don't." George responds, "Oh, awkward. I'm in his room now. You are not gonna do shit." She responds, "Throw a wet tampon at you." The next morning, George responds, "It worked." She responds, "Thank God. Never message me again." George responds, "Can't believe you already miss me." These next set of Instagram DMs are from 3 weeks later, on July 13th, that starts out with George saying, "Why are you so busy? Surely you have time for me. You are not a popular guy." She responds, "I have time, just not for you. And I am a popular guy. Ask any girl you know." George responds, "I don't know any girls. Why don't you have time for me? What the fuck?" She then responds to him saying, "I don't know any girls," by saying, "I can tell." After showing these DMs, Katie continues her statement by saying, "Again, I felt lucky to be talking to a verified account, someone famous, someone I had followed and watched for a while. I was uncomfortable with what happened, but trying to swallow it and suck it up so I didn't have to acknowledge or accept it. Although our texting ended a month after, I can see why people find me at fault. But the thought process of someone who went through what I have is a very unique experience, which is why I understand why it seems stupid. Only so many people have been in it to understand." Again, like he said, at one point he asked for my snap. She then shows an Instagram DM from George on the 26th of June where he says, "Are there good ones? Also, Instagram messaging is lame. What's your snap?" Katie continues her statement by saying, "But we did not Snapchat much at all, because I don't use Snapchat. I haven't since around middle school. The most that happened were a few pictures of him with a quesadilla that he sent me, and then I resorted back to DMs, which didn't last long. The time we all stopped interacting was around Paris TwitchCon. I walked him out to the elevator. Huh? We left at the same time? My room was on the other side of the floor, in the hotel. You had a hallway of rooms on one side, elevators connecting them, then the other hall. I was on the opposite side, therefore had to walk through the elevator room. I didn't walk him there. We both headed in that direction. I said, welp, bye, and that's when we did the whole elevator is broken bit. The unmentioned friend. There was a man who was there that I left out. He wasn't there for long. He left early, which is why I didn't mention him. I didn't even know his name. But here's a message from this guy. I've never spoken with him. This is simply a message he sent to someone who was in the room that night too. And it is all that he really adds to this situation. He left before anything really happened. They then show a text message from this person that says, I'm currently watching George, 26, cuddle with Katie, 18. Katie continues her statement with the next section titled, We cuddled. A lot of the touch was initiated by him, probably not realizing it. I mean, he was literally spooning me from my left as I faced Ghosty to my right. A lot of the cuddling he may have felt was personal, but was just me being drunk. Everyone on the couch was doing the same thing. All drunk, close together, but I get it. I was drunk. I didn't think cuddling automatically meant it was to turn sexual. I didn't know it was an invitation. I wasn't going to push him off in front of everyone. He took it a step further in front of everyone, all because he assumed things and assumed he had the right. As a shy person, I could not speak up in front of him and everyone else, let alone say yes. Even if you wanted to take a step forward sexually, why do it in the open? If you were cautious about consent, why not ask? That's usually the first step. And more important, why does everything have to be taken a step further? And I may reiterate that I was drunk. She could have moved. Yes, I got up and sat in the same spot, getting up to drink more, etc. Mentally, I believe in a room on a sofa with people on it, you just sit back where you were when you get up. Mentally, I was also drunk, and even if I were to move, that would be an obvious hit to his ego to him and everyone in the room. A bold move I didn't need to make. I could just deal with it till the night was over. And I didn't want someone I watched for a while, or with a large following, to hate me for denying to even sit near them. I didn't want to embarrass him or myself. I know it's a dumb thought process. I acknowledge it. She stayed when her friends left. I didn't make the conscious decision to choose to stay. My friend left throwing up in their hand, and I didn't know. She was so drunk she couldn't hold in her vomit and passed out in our bathroom, and the more the night went on, the drunker I was. Like I said before, I put up with it in the moment because I thought it was the price I had to pay to be around such big creators. Those last 3 points, may I remind you, are not an invitation to be sexual, or that I wanted it. And if he thought I did, he could have asked. Well, he assumed because of your body language. We had just met. Why did he think he knew me well enough that he could assume how I felt? Assume he knew what my mannerisms meant. You didn't know me. Apparently, you didn't even know my age. But you knew what I wanted? No. He assumed it's what I wanted because why wouldn't I want that from someone like him? And remind me, since when was smiling an invitation? When was sitting next to someone an invitation? Since when was being drunk an invitation? Any laughing I did with your hand under my clothes was out of nerves because I didn't think cuddling would result to that. And my shock left me speechless because I had never been to a guy's hotel room, done anything sexual, and never experienced that cuddling meant what it did. I didn't know if this was normal or not. You touched me for the first time. You're a fucking grown man who knows better. Why do I have to be strong and pull away or say stop? It's my fault because I was asking for it, hinting at it. I should have known, but never his for not being able to ask a simple question before doing it at his age. Silence can be consent. A head nod is silent confirmation. In order for confirmation to happen, it needs to follow a question that was never asked? And how is a drunk person supposed to consent? You think I was in the power to consent a 26-year-old man to touch me because I laughed? But he was drunk too. Personally, when I'm drunk, I don't stick my hand in other people's clothes on a couch in a room full of other people without asking. That's just me though. Everyone in the room could verify she was comfortable. My texts the day after. She then shows text messages from June 25th where one of her friends says to her, "Hi, I want to make sure you're okay. I didn't like the way George was so touchy, and blank told me about the shirt thing, and I just want to make sure you're alright." She responds, "Yes, I'm okay, but I was drunk so I didn't feel like doing anything to stop it anyway, and it's over now, so..." She then shows a text that she received from somebody else earlier that day where they say, "Hey buddy, I wanted to double check with you that George didn't make you feel uncomfortable at all last night. I saw he was getting really touchy with you, so I just wanted to double check, smile." She responds, "Maybe? Bro, I have no clue." Like in the moment I was chilling, but thinking back on it, I'm sweating a little bit like, damn! And especially after verifying so he knew I was 18, and also to know if I was chilling at the moment because I was drunk. I don't know, I have to ponder on it, or just forget about it because it's over with. LOL! The after verifying I was 18 refers to a question I answered during a drinking game I will explain later. Of course I played it down with my responses at the time. I was embarrassed. I wanted to seem cool because I had never been sexual with someone before. How was I supposed to know what it was supposed to feel like emotionally? Was I nervous and uncomfortable because I didn't want it? Or because I was inexperienced? Or because I was drunk? I didn't understand what I felt, but I knew I felt off. And the friends in that room were some of the last people I came out about how it affected me, because I was embarrassed at my inexperience. Embarrassed at the fact that it was out in the open. Scared to react when it happened because any reaction I showed had an audience, as he made his move in a room full of people. But let me remind you that their initial gut reaction by simply being in the same room and seeing the situation was them messaging me the next day worried, asking if I was okay. Before they talked to me about how I felt, they felt gross. The wristband. I would like to mention another girl I didn't mention because, like the other guy, she left really early into the night. I'm admitting that I didn't mention her because she only tagged along one night and didn't do much. I also didn't know her too well. She was friends with Clay and the girl talking to him. I haven't messaged her since that night until today when she reached out. Here are her messages about/from that night. Her message to me today, and a screenshot of the group chat with just Clay in it. And for those of you who don't know, Clay is the real life name of Dream. But regardless, she shows this message from the other girl that says, okay, I'm like watching a stream for the first time right now, and I'm losing my mind because the photo he thinks is you is my hand. They then show a screenshot with more context surrounding the image George shared in his response of her wearing the 21 plus wristband. Katie continues her statement by saying, it is clear that she sent the message in the chat, obviously it being her hand. No room for confusion on it being my hand. And once again, he was not even in the group chat to see it, only Clay. And even if he just assumed we were all 21 because one of us was, all these assumptions could have been cleared up pretty quick with a question. The party we were at and where the wristband talk initiated from was a 18 plus party that you need a band to enter. We asked people around us for a wristband to enter the party, not a 21 wristband to drink. As you see in the pictures, a 21 wristband was given by staff after seeing ID and after entry. The wristbands we were asking around for and searching for was just entrance to the party. Even if he thought I was asking around for a 21 wristband, that would only prove that I was underage. Again, neither guys were at the party. We didn't end up staying at that party because we couldn't get wristbands for everyone. Only a few of us got in. My one friend gave theirs to me so I could walk in and see a creator party for the first time, but I left immediately after taking a video or two, knowing Ghosty and other friends were sitting outside unable to get in, with the wristbands cut off by staff as we left. I didn't even have a party wristband at any time I met with them after in the room, let alone a 21 age one. I beg you all to watch my vlog from VidCon, documenting video of this party and the wristbands being cut off in the vlog. She then shows some pictures backing up what she's been saying about the wristbands and the Instagram night out VidCon party. But anyways, her statement continues with her next segment titled, I thought she was 21. The girl who left earlier also sent me this message today. It is her conversation with Clay that night before she left the room, as she recalls it to a friend a few days later. She then shows a Discord DM she got from someone where they say, I typed a message on my phone and showed it to Clay, being like, does George realize there's 8 years between him and Caddy? And he like looks at me deadpan and is like, I don't see why it matters. I'm like, oh, okay. Katie continues her statement by saying, he was drunk, so I do not fault him for what he may have responded with, as maybe he wasn't thinking right, as I had not been able to while intoxicated. This is also her recalling, so it could be wrong or untruthful, but I don't believe she has reason to lie simply messaging a friend a few days later, especially when at the time of that text, and up until I became public about it, she didn't even know anything happened that night. She left before. That night, the game we were playing asked, who was the last to lose their virginity? This is when I said me, because I was 18 and still was a virgin. This is also when Clay chimed in to argue for his best friend, and say along the lines of, well, he lost his at 19. You weren't that old yet, so he technically would still drink. And he drank. I assume this meant he was listening, but maybe he wasn't. I remember this questions because of texts I sent, and because it's something I'll never forget. Yes, I know it's hard to remember a question like that, thinking back now, but that night he couldn't have forgotten it that quick. Remembering back to my answer other just an hour/minutes prior before making a move didn't seem impossible. With him saying I didn't remember what happened that night and nitpicking my story apart with his great drunk memory, I wonder how he couldn't remember the most important part of it all, aka me saying my age. I don't think he's dumb. I think even if he was talking to someone, especially in Instagram DMs, he would check for an age or at least see a bio. Someone who is so concerned about consent wouldn't be so naive. Someone with such a big platform wouldn't risk it, unless they knew they could pull the I didn't know card. Her friends influenced her because they hate us. I wonder why. Their hatred grew because of what happened to me. These situations always end in victim blame. If I didn't do this, she shouldn't have worn that. She shouldn't have been drinking. She was asking for it. We are embedded into a society to cover for assault. It's what we are built on. It's easy to say what I should have done looking from the outside, not being the one in the situation, in the moment. It's also easier to think of how I could have gotten out of the situation now that I'm not in it, and now that I'm sober and can make clear choices. I want this situation to circle back to the original point, to make aware the reality that many girls face in this community, that many people are forced into silence. It's not petty drama, but real life people that have been affected. I just don't want victims to feel they have to prove themselves to people to be believed, that they are only valid if they had proof. I believe you. My story was a bit different because it was on such a wide scale, with the big audience. Yes, I know I do not owe it. Victims don't owe anything to anyone, but with my unique situation, I had to give proof nonetheless considering the circumstances. I'll accept if people don't believe me. I've said all there is. I also want to note that those who make false allegations to deplatform someone or to seek attention are scum. You are the reason people choose to never come out with their stories. You are the reason there's distrust in coming forward about these situations. I hope you rot. I find it funny when people say victims do this for clout, because I can promise you anyone who had come forward about something like this knows the large sum of what you receive is endless hate, and it becomes what you are known for. It's the price you have to pay to speak up. This will be the only proof or response I have, as I don't have energy and have said all I have to say. Any responses further on from now, I will not be responding to, because I am physically away and also mentally taking a break. My comments on platforms are flooded with hate, so I cannot say I'll be active anywhere else, but I see the support. I appreciate you all. I just hoped some people would realize how many unknown things go on behind the scenes, and how dangerous blind idolization is, but I suppose it's an issue that will take much more time. And most importantly, this isn't a one-time thing. The larger creators that have reached out about their own stories concerning them, and are still too scared of them to come forward, they make me sick. Women who have been friends with them, people I watch, people I've never spoken to, and people I have, this is so much bigger than me. I wish they find peace. There is a reason people have distanced themselves from these men. There is a reason other creators act like they do. My experience is simply the only one public, and no creator owes it to anyone to share their experiences with them. I just wish it was more obvious seeing the people who distance themselves, and the people who still surround them to this day. I will be away for a week, and then I will stream a final statement, so once again you can hear my voice in sincerity, and probably my final statement on it all. I want to continue my content, music, videos, and supporting you guys. I don't want to let this define me, or stop me simply because it happened to me, but there is a lot more to be said before I can make my peace, and I don't know how long I will take in returning to the internet once all has been said. I wish the best for you all, and healing. So that is it for Katie's response to George's response to her initial allegations. Omni reacts to all this on Twitter by saying, "Am I missing something if George himself confirmed he inappropriately touched her? What's left to discuss?" Corey responds to Omni by saying, "This, he was irresponsible as a content creator with a huge platform, and an adult in general. She was a visibly young, drunk teenager who he didn't know, that never clearly consented to anything. That's confirmed information. Now he is out here trying to question if clear consent is necessary." Disturbed Waffles responds to Omni by saying, "The new discussion is whether or not a drunk 18-year-old can consent without explicitly saying so, to which the answer is obviously no, they cannot, and touching them in a sexual manner without said consent is sexual assault." Lola responds to Katie Bug's post by saying, "Take care and stay safe, Katie. You are incredibly strong. Sending love. Chloe says, I don't understand how you were messaging the dude almost every day, but claim to have PTSD from seeing his face, name, or anything about him, lol. Joan replies to Chloe by saying, have you not read anything of what she said? She messaged back because she still didn't process what happened to her. She was still in that mindset of feeling lucky, denial. Her texting him ended a month after. Also, this was never said to be daily. I don't know why you're making that up. Cloud responds to Chloe by saying, she messaged him a couple of times. How is that daily? Boomer NA responds to Katie Bugs by saying, thank you for having the strength to even remotely come up with a response like this after going through dog shit so much already. Much love always to you, Katie, and thank you for speaking up. What even responds to Katie Bugs by saying, I think you are mistaking regret for trauma. You were underage drinking. You didn't want to hurt a guy's ego. You had many chances to leave and move like you said, but didn't. You didn't have to go to the room. You were 18 wanting to hang out with older people, but yet was his fault for being around you. I'm not on either side, but this whole thing is dumb. You can't regret something then pass it off as trauma and or rape. A lot of women do that. Osama responds by saying, are you saying regret doesn't come with trauma? Either way, it doesn't matter. She was drunk, he was sexually touching her. She was not in the right mind to understand what's going on or to consent. Drunk people can't consent. I don't think she was expecting to be. What even responds, I agree. And had no regret come with trauma, but you can't pass it off as sexual assault. He was also drunk and she laid on him. She said she could have gotten up and left, but she chose not to. Leah responds to Katie Bugs by saying, I don't understand why you left out you guys were cuddling, and you could have left many times, but didn't want to hurt the guy who's assaulting you's feelings. Anthony says, this is one of the most well-written statements of anything relating to these topics I've ever seen, and it just shows how much you were wronged and how strong you are. I hope you were able to eventually heal from this experience and enjoy the life you deserve. Hannah says, you were so incredibly strong. Thank you for being brave enough to speak on this. I stand by you 100%. Lanny quote tweets Katie Bugs and says, he admitted to touching her, that she was drunk, and that there was no consent. End of story. Cheaply quote tweets Katie Bugs by showing that her birthday is on January 2nd, 2005, and captions it by saying, freshly 18? She is born in January and met George in June, laughing my ass off. Avia quote tweets Katie Bugs and says, Dream saying I don't see why that matters when someone pointed out their age difference at the hotel room is actually sickening. Roach quote tweets Katie Bugs and says, this is exactly why she was scared, because of course coming out about a huge content creator like George would warrant harassment from his fans. How stupid are you to tell a victim that what she felt is invalid? Maury responds to Katie Bugs' statement by saying, he admitted to everything and she still had to do this. It's so gross. Keith says, GeorgeNotFound literally admitted on stream that he did in fact do these things to her, and she still had to post this because people still don't believe her. I hope him and anyone who thinks he's innocent to go rot in the deep pits of hell. This is unbelievable. Star quote tweets Katie Bugs by sharing these images and captioning them by saying, in case anyone can't see, here's texts plus a statement Amesy made. They then show an image of what I assume is Amesy texting Katie Bug. The text started out with Katie saying, blank said you wanted to make sure I was okay last night. Thank you. Amesy responds, yeah, I just wanted to double check. Were you all okay? Katie responds, the situation itself was definitely not the best. And a little ... but you live and you learn, bro. And I'm doing all right now, I think. But thank you anyways for looking out for me. This second image is the statement they mentioned from Amesy, where she says, I would like to include this. People claiming she regretted it months later after? Wrong. I saw Katie before she went to the hotel room, in passing with a group of friends. I didn't know where she was going, but it was late when I saw her, and I found out later that she was drunk by a friend of hers, so I went looking for her. I was terrified for her. I didn't know who she was with, but I understood this was an 18-year-old at a convention that is now drunk, and I wanted to ensure she was okay. This was our text the following day, which I already showed. It was the first image they showed, not the second. Probably should have reversed the order they posted these, but regardless, Amesy continues by saying, I didn't learn what happened that night until recently, and I've never heard my heart break faster. Please listen to Katie. Thank you. AimZ then continues talking about this on her second Twitter account when she posts these two images that start out with her saying, "To those spam DMing me saying I made victims look bad and I only spoke up for victims to make myself look better, you have completely chose to see past my words. I made myself very clear to avoid getting misunderstood. I explained my stance on using my voice has always been to help my friends speak up, as them coming to me with heartbreaking stories was so awful and serious, and still is. I am getting messages from people who agreed with my stance just 24 hours prior, who are now attempting to rebuttal it, and say I'm only speaking up for likes and clout, despite myself being a victim, which is why I'm so passionate about this topic. I'm speaking here with upset, and I want to be clear I am taking myself out of this, as all it's done is remind me that the internet is cruel. Please, I keep saying this, but be kind and look at this with kindness. I've reached out to a few people already privately to ensure points of mine are not misunderstood, as I'm no longer using my voice publicly for the minute, as this hurts. Listen to people. Be kind." Katie Bugs responds by saying, "Amy is one of the most genuine and true people I have ever met in content creation. When I was ready to quit it all, lost hope in all creators, finding and becoming friends with Amy made me realize there is still good in the world, and community. They deserve everything." Animatronics quote tweets AimZ and says, "It's always, creators need to speak out, bring light to accusations, and publicly support abuse victims. Until the creator speaking out is assigned female at birth or femme presenting, and then suddenly they're accused of making it about themselves. So disappointing to see. AimZ has done some good." Brooke AB says, "If a person is drunk, they can't consent." Nicholas Diorio says, "Wait, so George was mutually assaulted while they were cuddling? Or is this only a woman thing?" Cavos says, "So anyone who had a drunk hookup, maybe it even blossomed into a relationship, is now a rapist. Honestly, what a stupid statement to farm likes. Let us know when you were back in the real world." And that is about it for the conversation surrounding Katie Bug's new response on Twitter. But of course, George and Dream ended up making a counter response, but their initial reaction to what Katie tweeted out was not what you might think. But we will get into all of that and more in part 4. So if you don't want to miss that, be sure to subscribe to this channel with notifications on. And while you wait for that video, let me know what you think about the situation so far in the comment section below. I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say about all of this. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.